Shalom, shalom, everybody. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Sabbath class, August 22nd, 2020. We're going to do a moment of silence, and then we're going to do a prayer, and then we're going to go into our current events. Okay. O Lord, we come before thee, bow down and honoring thee for thy great wisdom and strength. O Lord, through your guidance, we have found you. We searched you out, though your holy, through your holy word given unto us by your prophets. Lord, we see your outstretched hands in the affairs of our oppressors, and we stand in awe of you. Turn not thy face from your inheritance, but deliver us, O Lord. We thank thee for the knowledge that we have received, and may you guide and control this message, and that it is received in spirit and in truth of thy great word. O Lord, we trust and abide with you. O Lord, we solely depend upon you, for the latter days are here. Keep and protect us, for we know that our Redeemer lives. The Lord of hosts is his name. All praises unto you. Okay, anybody got any current events that they want to share? No current events? Okay, I got something right here. I got something right here. It's these wildfires. I don't know if anybody know about them, but within the last 72 hours, they had something like 1,000 lightning strikes in California, and California on fire. So I'm gonna play this right quick, and see, then we'll talk about it.
Overnight, the sprawl of more than 500 California wildfires surged in a relentless march of flames. Hardest hit, the north, where the state's largest fires are churning through wine country, incinerating homes, reducing whole neighborhoods to piles of rubble and ash.
Oh no. Oh no, no, no.
Krista Petrillo-Hafner lost most of her livestock, including her horses and goats, as the flames swept through her parents' ranch.
The devastation is it's amazing. If I stop to think about it too long, it overwhelms me. Today was a very hard day.
So far, the fires have scorched more than 770,000 acres, destroying more than 500 structures, forcing the evacuations of thousands. At least 5 people have died.
It's just been fire after fire. I mean, it's crazy.
Meanwhile, firefighters battling back on the front lines are stretched to their breaking point.
I've never seen something like this in 34 years fighting fire.
The governor saying nearly all of the state's firefighting resources have been exhausted, forcing officials to call in help from 10 states and 2 countries.
We have over 12,000 firefighters now actively working to suppress these larger complex fires.
It's been a real roller coaster. Somehow, Sonoma Valley ranch owner Ed Newell says crews were able to save his entire property after the fire torched nearly everything in the area.
Do you think it would be standing when you got back?
No, we had seen some video on Wallace Creek recently. We were coming back and seeing it lost.
A small silver lining peeking through all the smoke, but residents here know a painful reality that fire season is just getting started.
And the state's record heat wave also expected to continue after Death Valley recorded the hottest temperature on Earth earlier this week, 130 degrees, and unfortunately, all this heat, just more fuel to the fire. Kristen, Peter, back to you.
That's a bad situation. Some of my relatives in the Santa Cruz area, among those being evacuated. Steve, we thank you.
Yeah, our hearts go out to your relatives and everyone impacted by these wildfires. And with that, we...
Okay. Yeah, anybody heard about that? That's going on right now as we speak.
I heard it on the news.
Yeah, I heard about it too on the news.
Yeah, they said something like 1,500 lightning strikes hit there in within 72 hours.
No, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's crazy, man. So California on fire. They said they're leaving by the thousands, and a lot of them and it's not planning on coming back. Yeah, that's crazy, man. You know, yeah. So I had another video. This one is about our president or they president.
On this final night of the DNC, the fight over voting itself continues. Democrats clearly have Trump on defense over his plot to undercut the Postal Service, which may be a linchpin for any pandemic election, people voting from afar. The Postmaster General, as you probably know from covering the story, has been walking back restrictions that could impact ballots and face a grilling in Congress tomorrow. But Trump's plotting against the USPS actually started years ago, and it relates back to this.
Don, through an intermediary, approached me and said, you know, would you be interested in buying the Washington Post? And I was very surprised.
Now, what does that have to do with the post office crisis? Well, on the eve of the postmaster's crucial congressional testimony, right now we're going to take you into how Donald Trump may have set himself up to both undermine this election with the post office, but also get caught. And this goes back to before he even knew what he wanted to do with voting by mail, before he saw these signs he was trailing Biden. What I'm about to present to you in our new reporting is an installment of our special backstory report, where we try to provide you with substantive accounts about one key figure in the presidential campaign and move the punditry or horse race coverage to the side. Now, this is obviously important because it goes to the election itself. It goes back farther than voting by mail or even the Republican effort to privatize many parts of government. It begins with billionaire Jeff Bezos. The Amazon founder and owner of the Washington Post has clashed with Trump for years. Now, Bezos says he cares about excellence, and the Washington Post cares about facts. But for Trump, maybe about the Benjamins, given his long-running and petty feuds with people richer than him, plus the shots at Trump about how he's not as wealthy as they are, or as he claims. Even comics have openly mocked Trump about it in comparison to the Amazon founder.
Trump is jealous because Jeff Bezos is actually a billionaire.
Actually a billionaire. And that's not all. Now, Bezos says he does not make the specific editorial calls at the Post, but he does back the paper's independence. So think about when its editorial board published this piece titled "Trump is a Poison Pill for the Republican Party" back in 2015 when he was struggling. Well, Trump took the fight all the way up to the top, responding within days, slamming Bezos and basically going at him, but then the Washington Post owner clapping back with the hashtag #SendDonaldToSpace. Donald Trump didn't like any of that. He ultimately confessed to his improper motives, just like he has in this new post office fight. Now, maybe people weren't taking this seriously at the time, but it is so important now because Donald Trump went out and said what even most authoritarians deny, what Richard Nixon never admitted in public. Donald Trump confessing that he intended to abuse his power in office as president to retaliate against Bezos because he was an opponent, threatening Bezos on the campaign trail.
He wants political influence so that Amazon will benefit from it. That's not right. And believe me, if I become president, oh, do they have problems? They're going to have such problems.
They're going to have such problems. And what does this have to do with the post office? Well, for Trump, it's not usually about public policy where a leader just thinks, how does this impact everyone and what's the best policy? You know the drill. It's about him. The resources, even the safety of American interests become a tool for his personal agenda. So when Amazon and the Postal Service had a deal, President Trump didn't like it because of his beef with Bezos. And he admitted it. He complained that the USPS was now Amazon's delivery boy, and then tried to spin it into some sort of effort to protect the taxpayer.
The post office is losing billions of dollars, and the taxpayers are paying for that money because it delivers packages for Amazon at a very below cost. And that's not fair to the United States. It's not fair to our taxpayers. And Amazon has the money to pay the fair rate at the post office, which would be much more than they're paying right now.
It wasn't just bluster. Trump took suspicious actions that might be an abuse of power and that which were exposed by Wait for it, the Washington Post, reporting that Trump pressed the Postmaster General at that time to hike rates against Amazon in secret White House meetings, which were kept off the public schedule. Does any of this sound familiar? A president secretly demands a top official join his scheme to abuse federal power for the president's interests? That's what the evidence showed Trump demanded of FBI Director Comey and his replacement McCabe and other prosecutors and key officials. We discussed that throughout tonight's show. And we all know now what happens when they refuse. So whether you remember this particular story or not, you can imagine the impact when this postmaster at the time refused and fact-checked Trump by explaining that actually Amazon's big business was beneficial for the Postal Service. Well, we all know how that goes in Trump world. He told aides he wanted to fire the postmaster. Then he went on to install 3 of his own picks onto its board of governors, which appoints the postmaster. The White House, for its part, denies any of this is about the Amazon feud, but Trump also pushing things along himself. He issued, remember this? This was an executive order, little noticed at the time, for a task force to consider the plan to go at the Amazon relationship, but they found Trump was also wrong. They found that the Amazon relationship was actually profitable. Those are the facts, but Donald Trump admitted his goal was to get Bezos. It wasn't about those facts. Taxpayer stuff looks like a cover story. So even when his own folks fact-checked him on that, Trump pressed on, threatening to defund the post office, which has been losing money for years and was going to run out of money this year. And he said he was going to hold them over that barrel if they didn't go after his enemy, Amazon.
The Postal Service is a joke because they're handing out packages for Amazon and other internet companies, and every time they bring a package, they lose money on it. If they don't raise the price, I'm not signing anything.
Now, the post office eventually got the money. The Treasury Secretary worked behind the scenes on Trump's agenda. An ethics organization even got a letter from the secretary to the board. This was in 2019, pushing Trump's mission to hike the Amazon rate, saying it's important. USPS prices service a profitable manner, including the e-commerce ground packaging delivery market, aka Amazon, and adding, the second request concerns the search for the next Postmaster General. I'd appreciate being kept apprised of the progress. As this ground on, sometimes behind the scenes, you have to take it in and look at the context in this voter clash, because just like Trump tried to punish a different journalistic outlet that he sees as an enemy, CNN, by abusing federal power over mergers, he wanted to break it out into a larger company. He even got involved in an antitrust case, the DOJ, filing legal arguments when it was not a party. And that was trying to go after CNN. Now, why does this all matter? What is going on here? Well, Congress and the courts care a lot about whether there are just budget cuts at the post office or this is a political plot, a potentially unconstitutional one. And that takes you to who Trump's trying to get to carry it out. The new Postmaster General, who oversees these operations and is appointed by that board I mentioned, which Trump filled with his folks. Now, at the time, the postmaster was Megan Brennan, a career employee who worked her way up from a letter carrier, and she had started a 5-year term in 2014, which brings you up to 2020, which brings us to this new controversial Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy, who rushed in those changes we've been reporting on and started telling states maybe they won't deliver the ballots in time. Now, under pressure from Pelosi, he has reversed course publicly. And I'm telling you about this tonight because he testifies tomorrow at a Senate hearing that could be key to protecting your vote this cycle. Now, who is he? And why is he the one Trump wants in power? Well, like Bezos, he's very rich, a billionaire CEO who helped fund next week's RNC convention, donating $1 million to Trump, opening his own home to Trump in 2016. And then after he became president, they had eye-popping ticket prices, $15,000. And that money helped to build power because DeJoy turned from critic to Trump appointee. In fact, take a look at this. A little seen local news article from back in 2004 quotes this Postmaster General, then a citizen at the time, slamming Trump's leadership style. I'd be fired. That attitude that you're the most important person is self-destructive. But boy, did he change his tune to get in line for this job. Now he says Trump's doing great. And he talked up the notion of Trump's deep state, which is ironic for someone campaigning to get a job in the federal bureaucracy, telling donors about Donald Trump battling unreasonable challenges and ticking off several, including, quote, many of the federal employees of the agencies of the executive branch.
And then there was DeJoy with a choice seat on the platform for Trump's inauguration. You can see there how close he was. And that required lots of work from those federal employees. He even got a shout out from Trump at an event earlier this year.
We have many other state and local leaders from all across North Carolina. We're thrilled to have you all here. And Lewis is around someplace. Where's Lewis? Lewis DeJoy, thank you very much.
And at a time right now when Donald Trump's under fire for corruption, I want to walk through the evidence of the pay to play here because it goes beyond the mail. Trump pushed DeJoy for a different key financial post, but he wasn't yet confirmed. He also pushed his wife for a fellowship vice chair post at the White House, then nominated her as U.S. ambassador to Canada. It's a big job, and that's also pending before the Senate that will grill her husband tomorrow over an alleged plot to steal the election. So there's a lot of scrutiny on DeJoy right now when he goes in to face this grilling. People in both parties saying he should be questioned under oath with the criminal liability that can carry on all of the background we told you about and on the election plot and on his qualifications. In fact, DeJoy is the first Postmaster General in 20 years to come in with no post office experience. His financial dealings could come under scrutiny as well, as they probably should, holding millions of dollars in a company that does business with the post office, a major conflict of interest. And senators will, of course, press him on the changes he made that he now claims are being reversed that slow down the mail processing and could put voters in, yes, 46 states at risk of not having ballots counted if they send them through the mail. Now, why? Why would he have made all those changes in the first place? Many skeptical that he's even going to reverse them if everyone moves on to other topics. And there are new reports that say mail sorting machines that have been removed might not be reinstalled, which means it's not back to a fair baseline. Some of the damage may even be irreversible. The LA Times today reporting some post office facilities have become like an Armageddon, workers falling so far behind that gnats and rodents swarming around containers of rotten fruit and meat from the mail, baby chicks dead inside their boxes, and all for what? Don't just look at what they say. The heart of this plot is about Donald Trump going in, not just in those public things we showed you, although we want you to see the evidence, but these secret requests to abuse his federal power, whether it's the post office or other agencies, for his personal and political gain.
Okay. Comments? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's interesting.
Oh yeah, like I said, that's crazy, man. Because he went all the way in on that one. I didn't know all that was going on like that. Yeah, that's worse than Watergate to me. It's crazy, right, man. Yeah, man. Like I said, it's ignorant because of. I mean, he keep on doing all this stuff. It's treason, man, like double treason. But he keep getting away with it and coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, man. It's like it's no. He just can demolish the rule of law in America. It's gone.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's blatant. What he just done with that. He didn't set up some dude. Don't have nothing to do with the post office. Don't know nothing about the post office. He just stuck him over there, and all of a sudden he throw all the mail off and throw the postal system off. Got the whole thing in an uproar. 60-some days, 70-some days before the election. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it is.
I want to see what's gonna happen tomorrow with that. When they investigated. I mean, when they grilling. Yeah.
Who?
He's supposed to go before the Senate or something tomorrow. I mean, Monday.
Okay.
I think.
On Monday.
Yeah. This guy right here, DeJoy. Unless he might already did it, but yeah. I think it's Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, what I was gonna do was I had talked. I see being that with our even Sabbath class, I was gonna deal with this little. What I had brought up the issue about when we was looking at um in the Apocrypha, the book of Tobit, and I had said how you know that it was Hellenistic, and so I was looking at this other book I got right here. I'm gonna show it to you. This is it right here. And so, like I said, when I finish with this right here, this the Gospel of Bartholomew. I don't know if anybody know anything about Bartholomew, but he's the disciple that took they chose him after supposedly Judas had betrayed Jesus, and then they got him. He took he replaced Judas. So I want to show you how you say, well, how you gonna discern between what they done and what they haven't done. I'm gonna show you right here. I'm in this book right here, and I'm gonna show you how the truth, the major thing that you need to know, they was taken out, and then they was put in other books. Like I was saying, all this was going on, and it started in Egypt, and so they put the in-depth things, in a book that they concocted, and they put the truth of it, the big part, the meat, over there in their book, and they didn't gave us, over here they didn't take out the stuff that we need to know that's gonna heighten our understanding. They took it out. So I'm gonna show you right here. This pertaining to Satan, Lucifer, and the beginning of time, and it's dealing with the seven, all that. And so, this is what's missing. And it's even in it had to come out of the book of Enoch. But I'm gonna read it. It says, I'm picking up with and I'm gonna go and read some. I'm gonna show you. I'm doing a comparison contrast with the book of Tobit. Show you why I said what I said. So it says, let me get it. Okay, so we on the mount. We're gonna look up. We're picking it up on Mount Olives, and it says that and as he thus spake, Jesus raised him up and said unto him, Bartholomew, wilt thou see the adversary? Wilt thou see the adversary of man? I tell thee that when thou beholdest him, not thou only, but the rest of the apostles and Mary will fall on your faces and become as dead corpses, right? So it says, but they all said unto him, Lord, let us behold him. So they making a request to Jesus Christ to see the adversary, Satan. So here we go. It says, and he led them down from the Mount of Olives and looked wrathfully upon the angels. They keep held Taurus, and beckoned on Michael to sound the trumpet in the heights of heaven. And Michael sounded, and the earth shook. Look at this. Same. Go back to the New Testament and go back to when they rolled the tomb back and all that. So it says, and Michael sounded, and the earth shook, and Belial came up, being held by 660 bonds, angels, and bound with fiery chains. And the length of him was 1,600 cubits, and his breadth 400 cubits. Right? So it says, and his length 1,900 cubits, his breadth 700. One of his wings was 80 cubits, and his face was like the lightning, of fire, and his eyes full of darkness. And out of his nostrils came a stenching smoke, and his mouth was as the gulf of Prepuces. Okay, so that name. And the one of his wings was 4 cubits. And straightway, when the apostles saw him, they fell to the earth on their faces and became as dead. So what I want you to understand right here, I was watching a movie. I don't know if anybody knows it. It's called The Dragon Slayer, and what they had said was in the movie that they were chasing this dragon, and then they couldn't kill it, And then the guy was saying they was wanting to know, the people in that area was wanting to know what was up with him. They was asking the guy, the dragon slayer, because he knew about him. And they told him, he told the people that there's only one dragon. You know, you would assume just like raccoons and rabbits and everything else, there's a whole bunch of them. But he was telling them it's only one dragon. It's the rest, it's only one male dragon. Ain't no more, just that one male dragon. He been there forever. And then he says it's a bunch of females, but it's only one male dragon. You know what I'm saying? And then so when you go back and look at, he's saying serpent. And like I was saying before, you go to all the folklore and all that. It's this dragon. He wells up fire. He got fire inside of him. He wells it up in him. They show it, you know, in the movie where he comes up, he wells up, then he blows it out. And then, but the thing about it is, he's very intellectual. He's highly intelligent. And like I said, it's always he got all the gold down in the bottom of the dungeon, and he's a woman up in the tower. He been captured up in the tower. So, you know, like I said, go back to Eve and go back what happened in the garden. So anyway, it says that it says, and his face was like lightning and a fire, and his eyes full of darkness, and out of his nostrils came stinking smoke, and his mouth was the gulf of the prison. That's the fire right here. It says that one of his wings was 4 cubits, and straightway when the apostles saw him, they fell to the earth on their faces and became dead. But Jesus came near and raised the apostles and gave them the spirit of power. And he said unto Bartholomew, come near, Bartholomew, and trample with thy feet on his neck, and he will tell thee his work. See how they set it up? They do this in the movies too. When they want to give you truth in the movies, they're going to set it up. Then somebody's going to come out and give you 10, 15 minutes of pure truth, you know, but you have to be able to catch it. So he tells you right here, he says, it's the writer, like I said, it's an Edomite think tank, Bartholomew, and trample with thy feet on his neck, and he will tell thee his work. So he's setting you up. He's going to give you a truckload of truth. So he says, what is it? And how he deceives men. And Jesus stood afar off with the rest of the apostles, and Bartholomew feared and raised his voice and said, blessed be the name of thine immortal kingdom from henceforth, even forever. And when he had spoken, Jesus permitted him, saying, go and tread upon the neck of Belial. And Bartholomew ran quickly upon him and tread upon his neck, and Belial trembled. And Bartholomew raised his voice and said, thus, O womb more spacious than a city, wider than the spreading of heaven, that containeth him whom the 7 heavens contain not, but thou without pain didst contain and sanctify in thy bosom, evidently out of place. Okay, then did the Antichrist tremble and was filled with fury, right? So then keep going. Says, and Bartholomew was afraid and fled and said unto Jesus, Lord, give me an hem of thy garment. Right? See that, how he playing that into what the lady grabbed the hem of his garment. It says that I may have courage to draw near unto him. But Jesus said unto him, thou cannot not take the hem of my garment, for these are not my garments which I wore before I was crucified. And Bartholomew said, Lord, I fear lest, like as he spared not thine angels, he swallowed me up also. Jesus said unto him, were not all these made by my word, and by the will of my Father? The spirits were made subject unto Solomon. Thou therefore, being commanded by my word, go in my name and ask him what thou wilt. Okay, saying Bartholomew made the sign of a cross. Right? This you got to think about this in the beginning of Christianity. So they setting all this up. What we dealing with now, they set it all up right here. He says, says, go in my name. We know that's a lie, and ask him what thou wilt. And Bartholomew made the sign of a cross, prayed unto Jesus, and went in behind him. And Jesus said to him, draw near. And as Bartholomew drew near, fire was kindled on every side, so that his garment appeared fiery. Jesus said unto Bartholomew, as I said unto thee, tread upon his neck and ask him what is his power. And Bartholomew went and tread upon his neck, pressed down on his face into the earth as far as his ears. And Bartholomew said unto him, tell me what thou art, and what is thy name? And he said unto him, lighten me a little, and I will tell thee whom I am and how I came hither. See, every Hebrew Israelite today want to know this. They didn't put a bunch of garbage in here to get to this point. So he says, tell me what thou art and what is thy name. And he said to him, light me a little, and I will tell thee who I am and how I came hither, and what my work is and what my power is. And he lightened him and said unto him, say all that thou hast done and all that thou doest. And Balaam answered and said, if thou would know my name, at the first I was called Satanal. See, he telling you his name. El, we got an L on it, which is interpreted a messenger of God. But when I rejected the image of God, now here we go, they setting up Jesus Christ right here. It says, when I rejected the image of God, my name was called Satanist. That is, an angel that keepeth hell or Tartarus. And again, Bartholomew said unto him, reveal unto me all things and hide nothing from me. Hebrew want to know this. It says, and he said unto him, I swear unto thee by the power of the glory of God, that even if I would hide out, I cannot. For he is near, Michael near, he is near that would convict me. For if I were able, I would have destroyed you like one of them that were before you. For indeed, look at this, check this out. I was formed, look at that, the first angel. See how they set it up? We know that's a lie, but he says, I was formed, the first angel. For when God made the heavens, he took a handful of fire, see this, and formed me first. That's a lie. It was these people, like I said, these Edomites, they devil worshippers. So they reverse the role and put Satan as the first angel, and he formed from fire. But we know the truth of that. It was Michael, the first one who formed from fire. So he says, the first angel. And for when God made the heavens, he took a handful of fire, formed me first. Michael second. See that? Say, but who knows this? Like I said, who know how to rightly divide this? Michael second here has this. Here are that. Okay, it says, here has these sentences. For he had his son. Look at this. He had his son before the heavens and the earth, and we were formed. When he took thought to create all things, his son spake a word, so that we all were created by the will of the Son and consent of the Father. He formed, I say, first me, next Michael, the chief captain of the host that are above, Gabriel third, Uriel fourth, Raphael fifth, Nathaniel sixth, and the other angels of whom I cannot name. So then he goes on and says, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, XL, and the other 6,000. Michael, the honor of power, third Raphael, fourth Gabriel, and the other 7. Okay, then he goes on down and it says, says, for they are the rod bearers of God, and they smite me with their rods and pursue me 7 times in the night and 7 times in the day, and leave me not at all any break in pieces all my power. These are the angels of vengeance which stand before the throne of God. These are the angels that were first formed, and after them were formed all the angels. And in the first heaven are 100 mildreds, and in the second heaven 100 mildreds, third heaven 100 mildreds, and the fourth heaven 100 mildreds, and the fifth heaven goes on anyway. He says, keep it over here. Okay, I'm gonna skip that. So now I'm over here in verse 52. It says, but the devil said, suffer me, and I will tell thee how I was. Now this right here is what I want to show you. It says, but the devil said, suffer me, I will tell you how I was cast down into this place, and how the Lord did make man. So I was asked that question this morning about was these angels, was Satan in one of the watches, the angels that was with Satan were they watches, and no, and it was what you have to understand about that. It was, and we're gonna see that this goes right along with this. But Satan was cast out, and he was the high priest in heaven in the temple, and he started trying to usurp Most High's authority, which was Michael was in charge, and so he was cast out. But he had the other angels, the serpents that was with him, that was part of the priesthood, and so he asked them, do they want to stay or go with him? So they was cast out. So what you have to understand, it was 2 groups of angels. It was Satan and these angels before Genesis 1:1 was cast out into outer darkness. Then you got during the time of Genesis chapter 6, when they came down through the portal at Bethel, 200 came. And they came through that portal and ended up on Mount Hermon, and they made the pact. So that's two different incursions that happened. So he telling you right here, this is the first incursion, and he's giving you information that what happened before Genesis 1:1, before he made Adam. He says, but the devil said, suffer me, and I will tell thee how I was cast into this place, and how the Lord did make man. I was going to and fro in the world, and God said unto Michael, bring me a cloud from the four corners of the earth, and water out of the four rivers of paradise. And when Michael brought them, God formed Adam in the region of the east, shaped the cloud, which was shapeless, and stretched forth sinew and veins upon it, and established it with joints. We know that because that's what he's going to do in Ezekiel 37. And that's what he did with Eve. So he says, and he worshiped, and see this why this how they turning in, this how you make an idol. So they merging this Hellenistic. So he says, and we worship him. We know that's a lie. And then he says, how the creator gonna worship the created. So he says, and he stretched sinew and veins upon it, established it with his joints, and he worshiped him himself for his own sake, because he was the image of God. Therefore, he worshiped him. And when I came from the ends of the earth, Michael said, worship thou the image of God, which he hath made according to his likeness. So let's look at that. So he just told a black lie over here, said that, he's giving you account, but they twisting it up. So he says that he came from going to and fro on the earth. Michael commanded him. See, he says, and Michael said, worship thou the image. So he commanded him. But you just told a lie over here and said you was the first one for him. So why would Michael be even think about commanding you if you was the first one for him? So that's a lie. So he says, worship thou the image which he had made according to his likeness. But I said, I am fire. That's who Michael is. Says, I was the first angel formed, and shall I worship clay and matter? And Michael said to me, worship, lest God do a wrath with thee. But I said to him, God will not be wroth with me, but I will set my throne over against his throne, and I will be as he is. Then was God wroth with me, cast me down. Check this out. Having commanded the windows of heaven to open. And when I was cast down, he asked also, see this, the 600 that were under me. These angels that was cast out with him. The 600 that was under him. They came to him, and he goes to the Most High, or he goes to Michael, but the 600 come to him. They don't know nobody else. All they know is him. So when they cast him out, they went with it. So he says the 600 also cast down that was cast down with me. And when we were cast down, look at this, we were cast down upon the earth, we were senseless for 40 years, right? So they out of darkness, they just out there, they floating, they motionless. So he says, senseless for 40 years. And when the sun shone, that's Genesis 1:1, when he came and made the light, he was all out of the darkness. So when the Most High came back to the earth and brought the light, then it shined on them. So it says, let me get it. 600 was under me, was senseless, and I awakened. I looked about and I saw the 600 go up. And when the sun shined forth 7 times brighter than fire, suddenly I awake, and I looked about and I saw the 600 that were under me senseless, and I awake and I took him counsel of how I might deceive man, on whose account I was cast out of heaven, and thus did I contrive it. I took a veil of, here we go. This I'm gonna read in the Tobit to show you how this all this witchcraft and all this. So he says, because the angel don't have to do this. It says, 59, and thus did I contrive it, and I took a veil in my hand and scraped the sweat from off of my breast and the hair off of my armpit. That's witchcraft. See that? That's witchcraft for these Gentiles and Esau deal with. And he says, and a white sweat from my bosom and below my armpits, and cast it down beside the stream of the water. And it is greatly prolonged into the stream, the waters which the four rivers flow out of, and Eve drank of it, and desire came upon her. For if she had not drunk of the waters, I should not have been able to deceive her. Then Bartholomew commanded him to go into hell. So we see right here this witchcraft that they use it, and so we see that's Hellenistic. That's what the Germans was doing. I mean, the Greeks then was doing. So they didn't mingle in truth, hardcore truth, which is garbage. But you have to be able to discern it. So let me keep going. Yeah, so that was it. So he's giving you a rendition of what happened in the beginning, but you have to be able to go in and get there, because of what you know on this side, and then when you read that, you're able to see what's right and what's not right. So I'm gonna go to let me get this right quick. Yeah, right here. I'm in the book of Tobit. So it says, and we bouncing off of what I just read. So it says, we in Tobit. And I'm picking it up here. Let me see where I'm at. Okay. It says, okay, so here we go. It says, we know the story with Tobit was on his way to his daddy's brother's house. He had some money there that he had stashed there. He was going to go get it. And so he needed somebody to go with him. So supposedly the angel Raphael came and appeared as a man, but he actually the angel Raphael, and he's with Tobias. So it says, and they went on their way and came toward the evening to the river Tigris, and they spent the night there. And the boy went to wash himself, and a fish jumped out of the river and would have swallowed the boy. But the angel said to him, take hold of the fish. And the boy seized the fish, threw it up on the land, and the angel said to him, cut the fish up. See this? Witchcraft again. Cut the fish up, take his heart and liver and gall, and keep him safe. And the boy did as the angel had told him, and they cooked the fish and ate it. And they both traveled on until they drew near to Ecbatana, right? So then get over here and it says, and when they had finished supper, they took Tobias into her. The girl got a demons dealing with her. She dealing with demons. And so it says, and when they had finished supper, they took Tobias into her, and as he went in, he remembered what Raphael had said, and he took the ashes of the incense and put the heart of the liver of the fish on them and made it smoke. And when the demon smelled the smoke, he fell to the farthest part of the upper Egypt, and the angel bound him there. And when they were both shut in together, Tobias got up from the bed and said, go up, my sister, and let us pray that the Lord will have mercy upon him. So this witchcraft, like I said, all this stuff was going on in Egypt and going on in Babylon. And now that the Greeks came, they mixing all this together along with they got our records, and they mixing it all together. So, okay, another place is that now that I have seen you, my child, I am ready to die. This is Tobit. He's blind. He got a film over his eyes. He can't see. And Tobit on it came back and he says, now that I have seen you, my child, I am ready to die. And they both wept. And Tobias came out of the door and he stumbled, and his son ran into him, and he took hold of his father, sprinkled the gall on his father's eyes, and saying, courage, father. And when his eyes began to smart, he rubbed them, and the white film scaled off from the corners of his eyes. And when he saw his son, he fell on his neck and wept and said. So what you have to understand about this is that what I read here and what I read over there in the book of Bartholomew go right into the New Testament with the same garbage. So you say, what you talking about? Like I said before, the people that's got the ailments, they got humps in their back, they blind, and all this come from what the giants had done. All those side effects these people having, and the issues is because of they came from the giants, from fallen angels sleeping with humans, and they had all those defects. We know in the Israelites they have no defects, so they don't need nobody else. Ain't no Israelite waiting on nobody to come somewhere to lay no hands on them, to take no hump out their back, or to make their ears back small. They got big ears and all that, or cross-eyed. They Israelites don't have none of that. So all that's Hellenistic. Those are issues that the Gentiles had. And so they always wanted somebody, they always looking for somebody to come and fix that for them. And so when they got Hotel Records, they combined the two all together. That's how you get Christianity, and that's how you get JC. And so, like I said before, when you understand it, you can see when stuff is being injected into the scriptures. Because, like I said, none of these Israelites ain't doing none of this. You don't see none of this type of this rhetoric right here going on in the Old Testament. And so, to close that out, I'm gonna give you something else to show you what I'm talking about. So, when Tobias, if you understand what's going on in this book of Tobit, it's during the time of Nineveh. So, where was Jonah going? Jonah was going to Nineveh. So look what it say. And now, my child, leave Nineveh, for what the prophet Jonah said will surely happen. So he gave you all this garbage, then he plugged this in there. Then we get down to the bottom, it says, then Tobias went back with his wife and his sons to Abanika and Rego, his father-in-law, and he reached an honorable old age, and he gave his father-in-law and his mother-in-law splendid funerals, and he inherited their property and his father's Tobit's, and he died in Abanika in Media at the age of 127. But before he died, he heard the destruction. Look at this. He heard the destruction of Nineveh, which Nebuchadnezzar, see that? And Aarus had captured. So before he died, he rejoiced over Nineveh. So now when you read that right there, you can plug in when all this stuff happened. So like I said, but they didn't drug it out and put all they want you to know, insert things in here they want you to know as far as to guide you in a certain direction, as far as Christianity or whatever they want you to believe, and then they mix it in, mingle it all up with some truths from our records. And so that's all Revelations is. They got truth plugged in there in different places, but then most of it is when they want to interject the lamb. He saw a lamb on Mount Zion. He plugged that in there, then he put some more of truth in there from out of our scriptures and plug it in there from somewhere he didn't got out of one of the books in the Tanakh. And that's what I just read right here in Tobit, and I just read over here in the Gospel of Bartholomew. But it had some serious information that you need to know. He gave you the whole breakdown of what happened in the beginning, but he twisted it all up. Okay. Yeah. So any comments on that? Anybody get anything out of that?
Yeah, that's a whole lot of information right there.
Yeah, that's what I say. But you just gotta be able to, you gotta be able to recognize it when you see it. So and like I said, we know when the two angels went to Lot, and the people came in there and tried to bum rush them, they ain't gonna get no fish eggs or no
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They deep the power on them and backed them off. They ain't do all that. Right. That's witchcraft, man. It's coming out of like I said, that's what they was doing. Like those when you start talking about faith come from those I can't think of the name of those people. Every time I bring that up, no, at Stonehenge. Those,
okay.
They tied to Merlin. They tied to Merlin. Druids, yeah, the Druids. They had that, yeah. That's where faith come from. When all the emphasis they putting on faith, that came from the Druids, from Stonehenge. They ain't got, it ain't by no, Abraham and all them dealing with faith, but not in the extent that they talking about in the New Testament. There's, you know, there's some more stuff going on. But anyway, like I said, they how the angels operate. He ain't got to. He a supernatural being. What he got to go do some more trick stuff with with a fish and fish eggs and all that? That's garbage.
Right.
So that's a red flag when you see that. Okay. So yeah, I wanted to read something out here, and I'm gonna make it a short night, but I wanted to read out of Jasher. Yeah, it's in chapter 55. It's kind of dealing with what I was dealing with this morning. I'm gonna read 1 through 25. Like I was saying before, this morning he had said, "Okay, thank you, thank you." Okay. So it says, and it came to pass after this that Jacob said, "I will go and see my son in Egypt." Like I said, what I'm doing is I'm just putting a little more gravy on the conversation this morning about how that Joseph had told him about his dream, and they was fumbling with it, and the whole time the Most High working the dream. So we said this chapter 55 came to pass after this that Jacob said, "I will go and see my son in Egypt, and I will then come back to the land of Canaan, of which God has spoken unto Abraham, for I cannot leave the land of my birthplace. Behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Go down to Egypt with all thy household, and remain there. Fear not to go down to Egypt, for I will there make thee a great nation." So what I want to do right there is, like I said, this also go along with what I was just saying about the Hellenistic part of it. You have people saying that, God said this to them, and God said that to them. But like I said, but look at this right here. He said he's talking. Jacob got an issue. He knows the story. He got the books from Abraham, and he knows all that happened to Abraham, and he know how important the land is. So he don't want to leave the land because he know the history of it. So the Lord got to come tell him, you got to go. He ain't finna go nowhere if you don't come talk to him. So it says, behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Go down to Egypt with all thy household and remain there. Fear not to go down to Egypt, for I will there make thee a great nation. And Jacob said within himself, I will go and see my son, whether the fear of his God is yet in his heart amidst all the inhabitants of Egypt. So what is he talking about? His whole concern was, had Joseph turned from the Lord. He know where he was last time he seen him, but he wanted to go see if Joseph was still keeping the Most High's law, statutes, and judgments. That's what he wanted to see. And the Lord said unto Jacob, fear not about Joseph. See, he precise. It ain't all this stuff that you see in the church house now about somebody said something to them and this and that, but you don't see no results. So he says, the Lord said unto Jacob, fear not about Jacob, for he still retaineth his integrity to serve me, as will seem good in thy sight. And Jacob rejoiced exceedingly concerning his son. So, like I was saying before, just injecting that, I was telling you this morning, when Sarah was laughing in the tent, she wasn't know where he was at, but he knew she was laughing. And he turned around and asked Jacob why she laughing. So he asked Jacob that to get her mind right. To let her know I ain't no regular dude. You laugh within yourself, and I heard it. And he doing the same. It's a whole bunch of other stuff going on in these scriptures that we're not focusing in on. And we ain't grabbing it. So he says, and the Lord said unto Jacob, fear not about Joseph, for he still retains his integrity to serve me, as will seem good in thy sight. And Jacob rejoiced exceedingly concerning his son. At that time, Jacob commanded his sons and the household to go to Egypt, according to the word of the Lord unto him. See that? Most High came talk to him straight up to take him to Egypt. He took him to Egypt. And Jacob rose up with his sons and all his household And he went out from the land of Canaan, from Beersheba, with joy and gladness of heart. And they went to the land of Egypt. And it came to pass, when they came near Egypt, Jacob sent Joseph before him, Judah before him, to Joseph, that he might show him the situation in Egypt. And Judah did according to the word of his father. And he hastened and ran and came to Joseph, and they assigned for them a place in the land of Goshen for all his household. And Judah returned and came along the road to his father. And Joseph harnessed the chariot, and he assembled all his mighty men and his servants and all the officers of Egypt in order to go and meet his father Jacob. And Joseph's mandate was proclaimed in Egypt, saying, all that do not go to meet Jacob shall die. And on the next day, Joseph went forth with all Egypt, a great and mighty host, all dressed in garments of fine linen and purple, with the instruments of silver and gold, and with their instruments of war with them. And they all went to meet Jacob with all sorts of musical instruments, with drums, timbrels, streaming merits, alloys of all along the road. And they all went after this fashion, and the earth shook at their shouting. So we'll shine a light on something for you for that. So when let me hit you with it. I'm gonna go in on it. So I want to show you something. You know, if you go to Genesis 32, you say what's going on with this? What's they doing? So I'm in Genesis 32 and 24, and this is when Jacob wrestled with Michael El. You got all these angels in heaven got Els. They prince. They sons of God. They princesses. They got they Els. So it says Abraham ain't no El. No, Joseph ain't no El. David ain't no El. But look here, it says Jacob was left alone, and there worshiped a man with him until the breaking of day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. And he wrestled with him, and he said, look at this, what he said. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. You're El. See that? Now watch what he say. For as a prince, just like them. See that? As a prince has thou power with God and with men, and has prevailed. Well, ain't that what Michael got? Power with God and with men, and Uriel, Gabriel, all they got power with God and with men. This is why he called his name Israel. For as a prince, El. Now let's go back and read this again. And remember what Jacob had told him. You sitting there telling me that you finna bow down. I'm gonna bow down to you. You had a dream. I'm gonna bow down to you. So look what he said. 7, chapter 55. And Joseph harnessed the chariot, and he assembled all his mighty men and his servants and all the officers of Egypt in order to go and meet his father Jacob. And Joseph's mandate was proclaimed in Egypt, saying, all that do not go to meet Jacob shall die. And the next day Joseph went forth with all Egypt, a great and mighty host, all dressed in garments of fine linen and purple, with instruments of silver and gold, and with their instruments of war with them. And they all went to meet Jacob with all sorts of musical instruments. See that? With drums, timbrels, strong mirrors, and alloys of all along the road. And they all went after this fashion, and the earth shook. And they're at their shouting. And all the women of Egypt went upon the roofs of Egypt and upon the walls to meet Jacob, and upon the heads of Joseph was Pharaoh's regal crown, for Pharaoh had sent it unto him to put it on at the time of his going to meet his father. And when Joseph came in within 50 cubits of his father, he alighted from the chariot, and he walked toward his father. And when all the officers of Egypt and her nobles saw that Joseph had gone off on foot toward his father, they also lit up and walked on their foot toward Jacob. And when Jacob approached the camp of Joseph, Jacob observed the camp that was coming toward him with Joseph, and it gratified him, and Jacob was astonished at it. And Jacob said unto Judah, who is this man that whom I see in the camp of Egypt, dressed with kingly robe, with a very red garment upon him, and a royal crown upon his head, who has alighted from his chariot and is coming toward us? And Judah answered his father, saying, he is my son, he is thy son Joseph, the king. And Jacob said, rejoiced at seeing the glory of his the glory of his son. And Joseph came nigh unto his father. Look at this. Joseph came nigh. Now Joseph, the one, the king. Remember the dream he had that they was going to all bow down to them. But Jacob is a prince with God. That's what the angel told him. Joseph came nigh unto his father, and he bowed down to his father. And all the men of the camp bowed down on the ground before Jacob. Okay? And behold, Jacob ran and hastened to his son Joseph and fell upon the neck and kissed him, and they wept. And Joseph also embraced his father and kissed him, and they wept, and all the people of Egypt wept with them. And Jacob said unto Joseph, now I will die cheerfully after I have seen thy face. Thou art still living and with glory. And his son Jacob and their wives and their children and their servants and all the household of Jacob wept exceedingly with Joseph, and they kissed him, and they wept greatly with him. And Joseph and all his people returned afterwards home to Egypt. And Jacob and his sons and all the children of his household came with Joseph to Egypt. Joseph placed them in the best part of Egypt, in the land of Goshen. And Joseph said unto his father and unto his brethren, I will go tell Pharaoh, saying, my brethren and my father household and all belonging to them have come unto me, and behold, they are in the land of Goshen. And Joseph did so, and took from his brethren Reuben, Issachar, Zebulun, and his brother Benjamin, and he placed them before Pharaoh. And Joseph spoke unto the Pharaoh, saying, my brethren and my father's household and all belonging to them, together with their flocks and their cattle, have come unto me from the land of Canaan to sojourn in Egypt, for the famine was sore upon them. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, place thy father and brethren in the best part of the land, wherefore withhold not from them all this that is good, and cause them to eat of the fat of the land. All right, so we're going somewhere. And Joseph answered, saying, behold, I have stationed them in the land of Goshen, for they are shepherds. Therefore, let them remain in Goshen to feed their flocks, apart from the Egyptians. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, do with thy brethren all that thou shalt say unto thee. And the sons of Jacob bowed down to the Pharaoh, and they went forth from him in peace. And Joseph afterwards brought his father before Pharaoh. So this is what I want to get into. So now Pharaoh is old. You know, we saw the glory that was on Joseph. So we know what kind of glory was on the Pharaoh. We saw that Joseph bowed down to Jacob. All his people that was with him, they all bowed down to Jacob. Now Jacob is in there with the Pharaoh. Joseph bringing him in to see the Pharaoh. 25. Jacob came, bowed down to the Pharaoh. Then look what he did. Jacob blessed the Pharaoh. See that? So who in charge? It says, and Jacob blessed the Pharaoh, and he then went out. And Jacob and all his sons and all his household dwelt in the land of Goshen. So what I want to shine light on is, and I'm gonna close, was you see this. I'm telling you about a Hebrew's mentality. You know, how that they wasn't thinking like we thinking. Joseph got all this power and all this, and so when he came to his daddy, he that ain't had nothing to do with nothing. When he got there with Jacob was there, he got down on the ground, bowed down on the ground, and then Jacob came over with the Pharaoh, and he ain't worried about all that. He got out on the ground in front of the Pharaoh, and then when he got through with the Pharaoh, he possessed the power. If he blessed the Pharaoh, then he's gonna help all his sons and him. He ain't fumbling with that. He ain't no ego, he ain't bumping no heads with nobody, ain't got no problem with no power. He got down on the ground and bowed to the Pharaoh. Then when he got up, he put his hands on it and blessed it. So like I was saying before, we saw Bathsheba do. They ain't got no issues with no. They ain't got no ego problems, no all that. That's how the Hebrews talk. It's a whole nother mindset. And so, like I said, Joseph had no problem with the power he was willing. When he got to where his father was at, they ain't even come into play. He got down in the dirt. He had purple fine linen on with a gold crown on his head. He got down on the ground to his father and made everybody else do it. And so, like I was saying before, these people was in another place. Yeah. So, with that being said, we're gonna open up for a little Q&A and then we're gonna close.
Yeah, that story, I was just talking to somebody the other day about, the humility aspect of, when you look through, the different scriptures, you see how humble our forefathers were, especially in their captivity.
Right. That's how Moses was.
Yep.
That's how Moses was. Yeah. It's not. It wasn't them. That's how they are. And then you have to look at. That's one of the reasons why when the Lord gave them up, that's how we got in the predicament we in, because we ain't, you know what I mean? You ain't standing back behind some guy you dealing with on a daily basis, and then standing behind him trying to look at his girlfriend and all that, man. You don't think like that. But you got people that do that. So that's why I say you have to look at people, man. You got to look at them, look at their countenance, and that's what Michael did with Cain. He was looking at him. He said, "What's up with your countenance?" Because he's checking him out. You ain't acting right. What's wrong with your countenance? So yeah. So that's not a problem that the Israelites had. The righteous ones, they wasn't. None of that wasn't in the play.
Right. That also goes back to, we talked about this before, but, how they be on the street corner talking trash, calling people names, talking about what they going to do, their fringes and all types of stuff. It's just prideful.
Right. And that's what, and all that's happening is they picking up with the same mentality that got us kicked out over here. And so, so like I was saying, why did the Most High, why he tore the temple down, and why did he bring the wickedest people on the earth to come there and run them out? Because they weren't gonna leave. Just like Adam, the Bible tells you had to drive Adam out of the garden. So they were standing there just like they're doing now. They had all the gold and all these change of raiments and all that. The temple behind them, this glorious temple. They weren't gonna go nowhere. They were boasting. They wicked as hell. They want to worship idols and go down under the temple and do all kind of wicked stuff under the temple, worshiping all these other idols. But they still want the temple there. They still want to boast that they Israelites. That's why he destroyed it. That's why he brought the wicked ass Greeks to run them out, because they would have never left. They'd kept on doing that wicked stuff as long as he let them stay there. So he had to drive them out because they was boasting about what they had.
Right.
But they wouldn't do what they're supposed to do in order to be there, and they wasn't appreciating what what the Most High what the Lord of Hosts brought to the table. Yeah.
All right, makes sense.
Right.
Now, what chapter was that you were reading out of? Because you didn't mention it.
Jasher 55.
That's the other book, right?
Yeah, this one.
Okay. Thanks.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I had like I was saying before, those other two books I had was that was the Book of Bartholomew and and I read out of the Apocrypha, Tobit. So, like I was saying, you know, other people might not, you know, they might not deal with those books, but I'm getting everything and go in and you know, dealing with it. It's like what I'm dealing with right now. I'm probably going to talk about it in maybe a couple of weeks or so, but it's something I had dealt with a long time ago. It's the missing link that people don't know nothing about. I don't know if nobody ever heard of Maitreya. Maitreya, that goes back to the Buddha. And so you say, well, what you talking about? Well, they when people don't understand how Christianity came into existence, when the Greeks first came, Alexander came conquering the world, and then he died of alcohol stupor, and those 4 generals took over. They was in India, and like I said, he had a contingent that was following him. He had something like 200,000 people, and had the whole Greek culture. They brought the whole Greek culture with him when he went on that quest to conquer the world. And every time they come to a country, conquer it, then they have overlaid with the Greek culture, bringing out all Greek furniture and Greek, everything Greek, and they synchronize it with their next. So he stopped this conquest in India. So they was dealing with Buddhism, and so Maitreya is the guy that the Buddha was. His name was Sandaka, and he had came to the point where Nirvana, what they call Nirvana. So he's Maitreya. He's Maitreya. So that's what, when they sent Caesarion up to the monastery up in Egypt, and he was raised from 12 years old to 30, then he was Maitreya, because what it is they knew who he was. He was called the Son of God from day one, because his father was made a god. Julius Caesar was made a god when he was born. I mean, while he was still in his mother's womb, and his mother was considered a goddess while she was alive. So when he was born, he was the son of God. So now here comes this guy that was in Egypt. His mama was a goddess. His daddy was a god. Now he over in his monastery with these Indian people. So he not like them. He not from their nationality. He came from. They know where he came from. He came from Egypt. So now here go this son of God dude that's, you know, a royalty over here learning about how to be a monk. So he's Maitreya. And like I say, go look that word up. You see what, and it's gonna blow your mind. So anyway, so when you go back, what Sandaka did was, in order to become the Buddha, he was starving himself. So he'd go around skin and bones. And I know you just saw the pictures, or when they show Jesus on the cross, no meat on him, just skin and bone. That's what that is. That's cynics. They call them cynics. They was dealing with, for over 150, 200 years, they was dealing with that, Buddhism. Then Christianity came into the scene. So Christianity is tied to Buddhism, which they synchronize it with Mithras and the Persian deity Zoroaster. But like I said, a missing element that people don't know nothing about is that that contingent that was following Alexander, was like 150,000 of them. They all was dealing with Buddhism. That's why they got the things wrapped around them, around their waist. That's why Jesus got one on. And Alexandra, all them, Plato and Socrates, they was all cynics. You know, doing all this crazy stuff, starving themselves, cutting themselves, and all that. And then Christianity was formed from that. And so, like I said, I'm gonna deal with it, because I had did a whole bunch of research on it before, but you know, I had got away from it, because you know, you don't, the information is never really, I never really had to come up and bring it up, because nobody never got in the conversation to bring it up with certain people, you know. But just you know, it was no need to, because I didn't have to, you know. Most I could show me how to deliver the message without dealing with that. But you know, I'm gonna show it to you, show you some images of it, and like I said, it's right there, and people people looking at it, but they don't understand what it is. It's like I said, they were all over, all these men, rich men. Even Alexander did. He starred himself, and you know they would come into one of these big old metropolitan cities, and they'll live inside the sewer. They'll stay in the sewer 30 days, 40 days, don't eat nothing, and walking around all around the city, looking like half dead, and prophesying to people and stuff. That's Christianity came out of that. But anyway, like I said, it's cynics. Let me tell you how to spell it. If you want anybody that want to Google it. I was dealing with this, looking at this stuff today. It's a religion actually, cynicism. Let me get it right quick. And I'm gonna close. One of the things you can Google is Greek Buddhism. It's gonna take you there too, but I got the word right here. Cynic right here. It says CYNIC. CYNIC. And then you can put CYNICISM. That's cynicism. This cynicism, Christianity came out of this. From what they was copying off of what Sandaika did. Sandaika was the prince that ended up becoming the Buddha. Yeah, so I'm gonna check that out. Any comments or anything before we go? Okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, like I was saying, just Google that. I mean, you're gonna have to have your shoes tied up because you know that's the missing link. Buddhism and that's the missing element in there that nobody talks about. Yeah. That's it. No
Yeah,
question.
that was it. Somebody, well, me posted what Wesley had said earlier, but you had already moved on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was looking at that. I was gonna bring that up, but what I did was just no, I dealt with the fires in California. But yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of the 2 hurricanes. Yeah. So what you're looking at is drama on one end of America and a drama on the other end.
Right, we was talking about that early on this year.
Right.
Expect crazy.
Oh yeah, right. You know, the virus already out there. This ain't nothing but daggers. Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, that was
Nobody.
it.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess I'll see everybody on Monday at 6 o'clock. Shalom, and another shalom.